One of the most common beginner problems that I hear about is that students struggle to get a consistent tone. So today we're going to look at why this happens, how we can go about troubleshooting what the problems might be, and of course, how to fix them. If you're new around here, welcome. My name is Tatiana. This is the Flute Practice, a space dedicated to helping adults like you find joy and meaning on this beautiful instrument. Now, I want to start off by saying that it is incredibly normal to have difficulties producing a good, consistent tone when you are starting this instrument. In fact, advanced players will still struggle with this if they are lacking some of these foundations. But at the heart of it, we have got these amazing facial muscles that are learning to do really intricate and unusual movements when we are playing this instrument. And this just takes time. At the same time, you're trying to navigate fingers and breathing and body and all kinds of other stuff. So I want to just start by saying, take a deep breath, be patient with yourself. You are doing a lot better than you might realize. Now, before we get into a little bit more nitty-gritty around embouchure and all of that, I do want to just cover a few bases. It is so critical that you have a good understanding as to how a basic natural sound is created on the flute. If anybody taught you things like smile, or you find yourself being very tight in your cheeks, or perhaps you've looked at people's embouchures and you've thought to yourself, my embouchure doesn't look anything like that, my suggestion is to go back. We've got a beginner video. We've linked down below in the description. Go to that beginner video and just imagine you're a beginner, even if you're not. Pick up just your head joint and just start from beginning. Just reshaping that embouchure. In my humble opinion, the easiest way to create a sound on the flute is simply putting the head joint or the flute at your lip. We're going to chat about placement in a moment. And just with a simple, small, allowing the air to separate the lips to find the right shape of the lips. And then we add the tongue while keeping that lovely shape. Again, that video down below is going to explain this in a little bit more detail. Now, with that out the way, maybe you've done it all right. Maybe you're even part of our beginner program. I'll chat a little bit more about that later. And you've got all the good basics in place, but you're just still struggling to get it consistent. So here's what you're going to check first. One of the biggest reasons I find that students are not consistent with their tone is that they are not lining up the opening of the lips with the opening of the flute. So basic, so critical. And to be honest, in the beginning, this might change quite a lot. Sometimes those muscles are just settling and the embouchure tends to want to move around a little bit with some students. So don't be discouraged if one day you see it in one spot and the next day you put it in that spot and it doesn't work and suddenly you notice it's moved. It happens. The muscles, a reminder, need time to figure this out. But what we can do here is we can either put the flute up or even just without the flute, you're just going to do a little purr and you're just going to look where that opening is forming. I'm going to do some nice close-ups for you guys here. You're welcome. So that you can really see what's going on with my lips. So with me, you'll see I'm slightly off to the right. It's so slight, you would almost think it's central. When I bring the flute to my lip, it looks like this. And with a bit of experimentation, I found that if I slightly move that flute over to the right side, it works really well. Maybe your embouchure looks something like this. Or something like this. There is nothing wrong with that. It just means you want to make sure that the biggest part of the opening of your lips is in the middle of the tone hole of your flute so that the air catches into that tone hole at a good 90-degree angle. It can also help to sometimes look at the airstream that you're forming. Some students, we can see a very clear airstream kind of going over the one or the other side of the flute. And again, you're going to want to reposition. My best suggestion here is play. Be curious, be inquisitive. Don't be judgmental about your sound. Don't be mad and angry about your sound. Just allow yourself to explore and experiment and hear what happens. Very often you'll move it a little bit either left or right, and I'm talking tiny increments of movement so that we can just hear the differences and suddenly the tone will kind of pop out at you and you'll know that was the problem. Now, if you're moving it left and right or you're looking and it seems like it's all lined up, then that isn't your problem. And I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if there isn't a problem, don't create one. We're going to go on to the next possible cause of your tone issues. And this is something I see so commonly with beginner players where they put the flute much too high up on the lip. And the problem here is that not only do we pin that lower lip in place, and so we can't actually move that lower lip, which is going to cause problems down the line, but it actually can cause an airy sound because we don't have that lovely kind of fleshy cushion of your lower lip to help guide and direct the air down into the flute. So to fix that, we're going to have a little bit of fun again, and we're going to play and experiment. You can see how important experimentation is in this stage of learning. So you're going to put the flute down where it's probably much too low. So by that I mean you want that lower lip to really kind of be flopping over the edge of your flute or over the edge of your finger. You can try it like this as well for the moment. And we might be covering way too much and we might be way too low. I want you to find the spot that is too low. So I'm going to put my flute down. That might mean going right onto my chin and letting that whole lower lip kind of flop over. If you've got fuller lips, it might not be quite as low down. Usually if you've got fuller lips, you're going to be putting that flute a little bit more onto the lip anyway. And if you've got thinner lips, you're going to be a little bit more under that lip. But let's start really too low because you'll know. I promise you'll know. And now you can roll the flute out just a fraction because that usually helps. And now I'll try and play a note. I usually try with a B. It's a nice open note. And the sound is gone completely. That is too low. Cool, we found that spot. Now we're going to just scooch it up a fraction. Bring it up a little bit. It's not bad. It still feels a little bit like woolly and not as nice. I scooch it up a little bit more. There, I feel like, oh, the sound kind of pops out at me and I'm getting this nice clear sound. Again, make sure that it is nicely lined up. So I'm getting that clear sound. So I think, okay, I'm going to try and practice playing in this spot and stay here. This can often really open up and clear up that sound. This is a great tip, by the way, for more advanced players too. So if you're watching this and you're just trying to troubleshoot some of your own issues, try this. I have seen really high-level students just have the most amazing results by doing this teeny tiny little trick. A couple of things to add here. Sometimes we can get a little too over-focused on the embouchure. So if you've done these two things and you're still not noticing an improvement, there's one of two things happening. Either you are just getting too tight and too worked up and trying too hard, in which case I would suggest go take a break, go take a walk, come back to it later and just leave it alone. Or there's going to be a different problem going on there, which we're going to chat about in a moment. But before we do that, I just want to help you understand a little bit more about this process of learning, because I think it helps shed some light why it's so normal to have these major fluctuations in your tone at this early stage. And to do this, I want to tell you a story about my experience learning how to walk on a slack line. Yes, that's right, a slack line. So for those of you who don't know what a slack line is, this is a slack line. It's kind of like a tightrope, except as the name suggests, it's a slack line instead. And it is a lot more difficult than a tightrope because, of course, the actual rope is a lot more mobile and you move all over the place. So I was at a friend's party a few years ago and her brother had brought out the slack line. He'd got into it and I was determined to learn how to do this. So I got onto the slack line and promptly fell off within 3.5 seconds. It was a lot more challenging than I expected. And my friend's brother was trying to give me really great advice and give me all the techniques and where I've got to look and what I've got to focus on. But honestly, it was so overwhelming. My brain was trying to figure out this new activity. It had never done it before. My muscles were completely confused. My sense of balance was confused. And any information he was trying to give me just kind of went in one ear and out the other. So instead, I'm pretty determined. So I decided for the next hour and a half. Also, I'm not the most social person and parties sometimes scare me a little bit. So this seemed like a good excuse to not socialize. I decided I was going to learn how to do this, got onto the slack line and I walked a few steps and I fell off. And I got back on and I walked a step and I fell off. And then I got back on and I walked an extra step. I got a bit further and I fell off and I got back on and I walked a few extra steps. And after about an hour, hour and a half, I was finally able to get from one side to the other side fairly reliably. So the question is, what was happening? How did I learn how to do this? I was not thinking logically about every little step. I was not telling my muscles to switch on and switch off. I was not kind of analyzing and understanding how my body was doing it. All I was consciously doing was willing to get up, fall off, get up, fall off, get up, fall off. That was it. But my body and my brain were having this conversation the whole time. Every time I fell off, my brain got information about what not to do. Every time I stayed on and was able to balance, my brain got information on what to do and how it felt to be balanced. And all this while, it was learning a skill without me even realizing it. And I think that learning an instrument is so incredibly similar. We're not always fully conscious exactly how the brain is learning, but we just have to be willing to get on the proverbial slack line and fall off. So get good tone, get bad tone, get good tone, get bad tone. Every time your tone is bad, provided you hear it, and that is important because every time you hear bad tone, your brain goes, that's not good tone, muscles don't do that. And every time you get good tone, your brain goes, that's good tone, muscles remember this, this is the feeling. And as a result, you start learning. So what this means is that rather than getting tight and angry and forcing and anxious, we just need to allow ourselves to be playful and curious and inquisitive. And I know, as adults, this is particularly challenging to do. I get it. But hopefully my story can show you that it is so important and so critical that you do this. So very often, one of the reasons you're not getting good tone is because of what's going on up here. Okay, now let's assume you've checked position, your flute's not too high or too low on your lips. What's the next thing that we can check? It's actually usually the first thing I like to check, but just because I know that beginners often are struggling with positioning, I started there. But we want to check the breath and the breathing and the body. Very important. In fact, I usually start with the body because without good, balanced posture of the body, we're not going to get a good full open breath. So we want to make sure that we are standing properly. We have got some nice resources down below to show you how to do this. But the basic principle is that we want to have your feet, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, and your neck or head nicely stacked on top of each other. We need to have the body facing off to the right, the head pivoting over to the left, only the head, not the whole body pivoting back. So your shoulders and hips should be stacked, head over to the left. Now, I often tell my students, put your flute onto your left shoulder. Put that flute there, look over to your left, and then bring your flute up. And for many students, this is a lot more forward than they are used to. But because they are pulling that flute back, they're interfering with the breath. They're actually even interfering with the embouchure and the placement and all kinds of other things. So this is so important, so important. And if this is totally new information to you, even if you know it, I cannot encourage you enough to go and watch the videos on body posture that we've got down below. Okay, then off that, we want to make sure that we're breathing well. We want to make sure that we are getting good air in because, you know, the flute is a wind instrument and without good air, without good breath, we're never going to get good tone. So you're going to want to breathe in, making sure that you are opening up nicely, that you are not sucking in the belly and lifting up the shoulders and, again, getting all tight and anxious and angry about the fact that you're not getting good tone, but really that you're just allowing your rib cage to expand, your belly to relax outward, your back to relax outward. You've guessed it. We have a whole video on breathing, which once again, I'm going to link you to. If this is new information to you, maybe you thought you had to suck in your belly and lift up your chest. So if this is new to you, please go watch that video. But make sure that you are breathing well. For many of my students, I'm just reminding you because you know this, we've learned this in our beginner program, how to breathe well. But it's just important to remember, without a good breath, you're not going to get good tone. Once you've got good, effective breathing in place, the next thing we want to look at is the angle of the air. This is particularly the case if you're stuck in one or other register. So maybe you're just not able to get the low notes on the flute, you're only getting the higher notes, or you're only able to get the high notes and the low notes. I have seen both, I promise. And this is because we are struggling with the angle of the air. The higher on the flute you play, the higher the angle is generally going to be. The lower on the flute you play, the lower the angle is going to be generally. I say generally because it is a bit more complicated than that, but for now, that's all you really need to understand. So if you're struggling to get the lower notes on the flute, we need to find a way to bend that air more down into the flute. If you're struggling to get the higher notes, we need to find a way to bend the air up. And the best way to do that is to move the embouchure and the jaw. And very often when you're starting, you're very tight, either in the muscles here, maybe these are nice and relaxed though, and you've overlooked that you're tight in your actual jaw, or in this kind of muscle over here in your cheeks called the masseter, which is your lovely chewing muscles, which get very locked and tight. Sometimes we're clenching the jaw, sometimes we're just kind of closing it and holding it in place, rather than allowing it to be loose and free and allowing it to move. A nice way to feel this angling of the air is just to blow on your hand, and then just blow the air to the base of your hand, and then to the tips of your fingers. And just feel this lovely looseness in this muscle, in your cheek muscles or in that masseter, in that jaw muscle there, as you do that. And tighten it excessively and feel how that feels. Then loosen it. So there is going to be some activity there, 100%. It's not completely just hanging to the ground. But we want to have some space between the back of your teeth. That gets less and more as we play, absolutely. But that is always there, that we're not clenching and clamping down. This is huge. And so when we're picking up the instrument to play, one of the first things to check is, am I loose here? So that when I want to play lower on the flute, I just think of dropping the jaw slightly to angle the M or down. You can also think of blowing down to your elbow a little bit. Very often this can really help clear up students' sound. They get a much fuller, richer, warmer, more focused sound just by doing this. And then if you're one of those people that is getting a gorgeous low register, but you're struggling with the higher registers, we'll check that your flute is not too high up on your lip, because that's a big giveaway. So get that flute nice and low on the lip. And now you want to do the opposite. You want to let that jaw move forward and those lips move forward for the higher notes. This is so important, and one of the big reasons why you might be struggling with your tone. And hopefully you can see that if you're tight here in your embouchure and you're getting all angry and frustrated and you're just getting tighter and tighter, you are working against yourself. You can stand on your head, you can have all the best positioning, even decent breathing and body, but if you're tight and anxious here, it's not going to help at all. If you are looking for a program that gives you really thorough and solid foundations as a beginner, then I would encourage you to go check out our Smart Start program, specifically designed for adult beginners. This is an incredibly thorough program. We teach you everything from how to create your first sound, how to stand properly, how to breathe, how to hold your flute in a balanced way. And we really focus on you, the human behind the instrument, first and foremost, because we know that your body and what you do with it is going to have the biggest impact on your playing. There's also live interaction directly with me in the programs. I love to do this to just make sure that you are on the right track. So maybe you've started and you're just needing a little bit of extra guided care, then I highly recommend go and check out that program. Otherwise, I'm going to guide you to our beginner playlist over here where you can learn to play the flute the smart way. Happy practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.